And that's the other thing. If people want to ask about what the social climate is in Seattle, it's always, in the 90s, probably had a reputation of being the hippest music scene, grunge, whatever was in back then. But supposedly Seattle was a very affordable, cheap place to live at one point in time. Then what happened is you had all the tech companies take over. So obviously we have Amazon, we have Microsoft, we have Google offices, we have all sorts of tech companies come in. Those offer very high paying jobs. But then it also made it so that a lot more people were moving to Seattle. So housing is definitely limited with so many people trying to live in a small area of town. And then all these tech industry people had moved into the town. And so even the whole music scene, nightclub scene, whatever, became overrun with tech people, which maybe those people aren't, into being social and going out. They like to stay home and do gaming and programming and whatever it is they do. And so just the whole scene of hanging out has changed. Now, obviously, I didn't live in Seattle in its heyday. What I can tell you is when I moved to Seattle, I noticed that when I went out or tried to go out and do stuff, like went to nightclubs or a restaurant, even bars, you would have people that basically were just dressed in like polo shirts, khaki pants. They'd have their badge on from their workplace. They'd be very quiet, uptight, keep to themselves type people. Uh, it wasn't like you were seeing all these people that are all like tattoos and dreadlocks and wild punky people. It was just like very nerdly type people. And people that weren't really out to like cut loose and have fun. And so it just seemed very boring. So anytime I would go out anywhere, it was just like all these people just like standing around, talking about their jobs and work. And to me, that was boring. I came to Seattle to have fun. I wanted to, live it up based on all the things that I had heard. And that's kind of not how Seattle was socially. And then of course we had the big shift that probably took over a lot of places where everything shut down. So everything shut down in 2020. Amazon basically closed all their offices, and most of their offices had taken over of Seattle downtown. So now basically Seattle downtown just became an absolute ghost town because there was no one going to work. The streets were completely empty. And it was weird because obviously before, when everyone would go to work and be in their office buildings, obviously people, when it's lunchtime, they go to the restaurants in the area. After work, maybe they go and have a drink at a bar after work. But none of that was going on. So all the restaurants shut down, all the bars shut down. So Seattle was just like, it was like a ghost town. Seriously, the streets were empty. There were times when I would just be bored because I didn't have a job either. I was laid off from my job because my job had to close down. And I would just go for a walk the streets. I'd be the only one on the street. It was eerie. Those were streets that were jam packed, like with traffic. So at one point in time, I don't know if you've ever seen video footage of New York, maybe in the 70s. You see pictures of Times Square where there's just people everywhere and there's like signs lit up and all that, and tourism and everything was a big deal. That was kind of how I saw Seattle. Seattle was just like there'd be people everywhere. When you go to cross the street, it's not like you're at a crosswalk and you cross the street by yourself or with one or two people. There'd be like 50 people like crossing the street at once at a crosswalk, because a lot of those people, they either like they work in the area, they live in the area. A lot of people don't have cars that live in Seattle because they have an apartment that's right near where they work. So you just walk to work, you just walk to the grocery store. And so this is why I tell my story of how weird it was to go to downtown Seattle and there was like no one on the street, no one. And this was probably how it was for like a couple months. And then eventually what happened, and this is the bad part, is over time, I guess people started realizing, hey, there's no one down here. This place is empty. This building's empty. So then you had more of like a homeless and crime element kind of move into the area and just take over. They were breaking into the buildings and living in the buildings because the buildings were empty. No one was in there, and there was like security or anybody like monitoring these big empty buildings. So the streets just became like people just would set up a tent and be sleeping on the streets. And like I said, there never seemed to be any police coming around telling people to move. So now, if you were just like living on the street, usually these people would, uh, have whatever their crew of people, their friends or whatever, and they would take up a whole block. So then this is why I say, like, when I would used to just go for a walk because I'd be bored. Well, then it got to a point where it was like I didn't even feel comfortable going for a walk because like each block was kind of like, had their own gang of homeless people. They had set up their own tents, but then they were like building their own structures. They were getting like wooden pallets and like building houses out of the wooden pallets, and they were taking over like storefronts. They broke out all the windows and were like living inside the stores and the buildings. So this is my story of what it was like to live in Seattle. It's kind of crazy, right? And Amazon had no intention of bringing their employees back to work, so all those big huge buildings just sat empty. None of the businesses, like the restaurants and everything, they had no one to like sell food to because there was no employees going for lunch breaks. So then basically all the restaurants, like I said, shut down. They would board up their restaurant, and then the homeless people would kind of like tear down the boards and break into the restaurants and start living in the restaurants. And so I feel like even to this day, things have changed. People, I guess, some people have returned to work. Some still work from home, and you still have the homeless crime issue going on. There's still people like living in the streets, and they just never went away. So it's like maybe some people return back to work, but now they have to like deal with being accosted by, some of these people obviously have uh, substance abuse issues, are not in their right mind, and so you basically are getting hassled by these people that are like screaming at you. They run at you like they're going to attack you. I've seen people that were walking down the street that have had like their backpack whipped right off their back. Like it's crazy. I know some people will say like, oh, it's like a war zone there. Well, I don't want to say that because a war zone is pretty serious stuff. But I mean, there's been shootings, there's been all sorts of stuff that's like dangerous, and I personally would not just be going to hang out in downtown Seattle. Downtown Seattle is, of course, where all the tourists go. And now the cruise industry did shut down during that time, but now the cruise industry is back. So you see a lot of tourists that are hanging around. They have their suitcases and everything, and they're waiting to get onto their cruise, or they just got off a cruise. And to me, like, that's just not safe to me. These people seem like they would make for easy targets for crime to have all their stuff stolen. And so now it just seems like I'm going on and on and on, but I'm just telling you what it was really like and what it's still like. And a lot of my videos, okay, so here I am. I'm in nature, right? Okay. Would I go and film Seattle, downtown Seattle, show you what it's like? Well, yeah, I plan to, but here's the thing. I am not someone that feels all that comfortable taking out a camera, a selfie stick, waving around that I have this expensive equipment with me, and filming in downtown Seattle. Like in a heartbeat, someone will snatch the camera right out of my hand. Someone will steal my bag if I had one. I usually try to keep everything in my pockets. I don't usually carry a purse or a backpack. Like, so just trying to ride a city bus or anything like that, there are people who are smoking illegal substances on the city bus. The bus drivers don't do anything. They've actually made buses to where like the bus driver like they're in their own cage for their own safety, so that people don't attack the bus driver, because that seems to keep happening here. So if someone's in the back of the bus fighting or smoking something, the bus driver doesn't do anything. They just keep driving. That's their job. They drive, and the rest of the passengers on the bus like just have to fend for themselves. And that's why I try to avoid taking the bus or the light rail. Okay, so yeah, I just sound like I'm a total hater here, and I'm saying all this awful stuff about Seattle. But what I'm saying is I would love to go film and show you some stuff that's around downtown Seattle. I don't feel safe having a camera. I don't feel safe taking it out and showing you guys like what the deal is, show you what's going on in Seattle. So sorry if that sounds terrible. I do have one of those Insta 360 cameras where you can attach the camera to like your shirt or something like that. So maybe if I was doing some sort of like spy cam type tech, then I could film things and show you what it's like. But in general, it's like, not safe to do. So please, like, I would warn anyone that's coming to travel to visit Seattle, be careful with your property. I know a lot of people, when you're a tourist, you want to take your phone out and take photos of stuff, but just be aware of your surroundings. So, okay, so I will let me chill out and calm down, and I won't keep talking about that. But I am, of course, here just to enjoying myself, and I hope you're enjoying this too. There's going to be people that are not watching this live, they'll catch this later on the replay. But if you have any comments about the situation, if you are from Seattle, if you've ever been to Seattle, or what what the 2020 shutdowns did for the city that you live in, because I'm always hearing stories about people who maybe like lived in Florida and it's like 2020 didn't affect them at all. Life went on. People kept going to shopping malls, people kept going to, resorts and traveling and, you know, going to the beaches. And I lived in a place where they just shut everything down. You couldn't even go to the public park. And I'm someone that likes to just go to the park and walk around and enjoy nature. They would like shut down the park. They put up barricades where you couldn't even park your car at the park. They would have, signs and people telling you like you're not allowed to be there. And it was just weird to me because I just felt like uh, being told that you can't just go outside and go for a walk is crazy. But I can tell you, oh my God, I don't want to get into this because this is something where I get so worked up. But I can tell you that because they had so many like mask mandates, and I'm someone that like, I feel like, okay, I'm just going to like get out of the house, go for a walk, do whatever people do. When you're living in a car, obviously, what are you just going to sit in your car all day? So like, I would just like go for walks. I was probably a lot more physically fit at that point in time as well because I was always trying to go for a walk to get fresh air. And I can remember I had a mask on even though I was outdoors because supposedly you're supposed to have a mask on everywhere. I had a mask on, and then I was carrying a drink of water with me. I don't remember if it was like bottled water or if I had something in a cup. And so of course I had to like lower the mask so so I could drink out of it real quick and then put the mask back on, which of course is ridiculous because, like I said, I was just outdoors, like just walking around outdoors. And I can remember that, like, when I took the mask down, this guy on the street came up, running at me, screaming at me, telling me, like, put your mask on, you're gonna, people are gonna die because of you. And they were just saying, like, all sorts of crazy stuff to me, screaming at me, like, almost ready to, like, physically attack me because I had, for a few seconds, removed my mask to drink some water and then put my mask back on. That's how crazy people got here with the whole mask thing. So even though I was following the mask rules, like there were people that were just like lunatics. Like they would use the whole mask thing as a reason to come up and attack you. Like if you didn't have one on. I mean, it was scary times. And so I'm saying this like laughing about it, but at the time I was like frightened. Like I was really frightened to go places because I just thought, man, like I better have this stupid mask on because people are gonna attack me if I don't. Whether I believed in having a mask on or not, I'm just trying to follow the rules, but it was kind of like, I don't want to be wearing this mask. It's hard to breathe with the mask on. I have asthma already as it is. And so then to have people like come at me on the street, like trying to physically attack me over the mask was just crazy times. So obviously I have gone on way too much about my personal struggles here in Seattle. I enjoy the fact that you're all here to watch me. Obviously, during most of this video, I failed to use the microphone properly and didn't have the microphone near my face. So here I am. I'm talking like this. You probably can't even hear me. So I have to learn to keep the microphone close. So anyways, thank you all for watching. I think I will end this live stream here. Have a good day if you're watching this on the replay. Oh, and let's show you one more time. Let's show you a little bit where I'm at. I've got this interesting Water here. Okay. I don't know where the beaver went, but there was a beaver that swam by here. If it was a beaver, maybe it was something else. We got this bridge. And let's see.